welcome you back to our next interview with Maria Perventure. Hi, Maria. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us over this past week as we've connected with doulas around the world and sharing our stories and just sharing a little bit more about what we're doing with the Military Birth Resource Network. So I am excited to have Maria with us today, and she is one of the founders of Operation Doula out in San Diego, and they run an amazing volunteer doula program for military families out there. So welcome, Maria.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to share your journey into this program with us and being able to talk about what your outreach is and how you all are serving military families out in San Diego. So, but first, share a little bit with us about your experience with the military.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me be interviewed. It's exciting. Not something I do every day. First interview actually ever. So it's exciting for me. But our life, my husband and myself, we started fresh as we met and dated. He was already in the Navy. And I come from a Navy family. My dad was retired Navy as well, in a Navy town. I was born and raised here in San Diego. And so the Navy's always been a part of my life. So when we got married and I married a Navy guy, it was just kind of going with the flow. But, you think you understand something, but until you live it, you don't really understand it. So right after we got married, within about a month, we were moving. And it was the first time I had lived anywhere other than San Diego. So the adventure kind of started. We ended up in Rhode Island. And the day we arrived in Rhode Island, went to the drugstore, picked up a pregnancy test, and found out I was expecting. So I had a lot of things changing all at once. But it's been a wonderful life. We have had just the most amazing friends that we've met along the way. And in the military community, you stay connected. And that has just been a gift for us, the people that we've met along the way.
What started you with Operation Doula? Where did this all come into play?
Well, kind of by accident, really. I had become a childbirth educator over the years because that was an easier way to keep birth into my life with the husband that was gone all the time. And so I taught childbirth classes a lot here and there. And we had come back to San Diego, and now, gosh, this has been, I don't know how many years ago now, 4 years ago, my daughter approached me, and she was going to school at San Diego State. And she's a nursing student. She's now a nurse. At the time, a nursing student, and they were in their OB rotation. And she knew to approach me because they needed a childbirth class to attend. She said, "Mom, would you do a childbirth class for us?" And I said, "Sure." So I had this, my living room one night was full of SDSU nursing students, and their professor decided to come as well. And these two ladies, the professor is Sherry Carey, and then along with Jerry Ryan, have become really two pivotal pieces of what made this program possible. So I became the engine, I guess, the legs and hands of the program. But they were the inspiration, because without them, I never would have been able to do this. So, and it's been a gift too. After that first lecture, I've been lecturing now every semester to the students at SDSU about doulas. So I think one of the best things about the program has been exposing people to what a doula is. And that's been one of the favorite kind of fruits of this labor, has been just teaching the students about doulas, showing people through our work at Balboa Hospital what a doula is and does, and that's been a really important part of what we've done. But it was Sherry Carey that approached me and said, I had mentioned in my talk, my dream was to someday bring a program to a community of people that had a high need for support. In my mind, I was thinking low income, and because I just knew there was a need there. And she approached me and she said, "How about we do a program like that, but do it at Balboa Hospital?" And I was just like, "Well, of course, I would love to do that, but there's no way that would happen. The Navy isn't one to be open to things like that. They're not really big on new programs or change, and I knew nobody there." And so she said to me, don't worry about that. You get the volunteers. I'll make the program happen. But her connections there and then my little legwork trying to gather up some volunteers. And then Jerry Ryan's was the other key player, and she is a doula trainer for DONA here in San Diego. And she has been the person also to cheer us along and really help provide volunteers for us. And then it was also one other key person that was really important was Ann Fulcher. I was the first person I reached out to when I said, okay, this is the plan. How do I make it happen? And so with these key women and these key people helping guide me, the program just started to take off and take its own course. And I've just been holding on ever since, trying to keep up.
What were some of the needs that you noticed in the military community and the families that brought you to wanting to provide these services for them?
We tried to identify families who were affected directly by separation, and that was either by deployment specifically, but it doesn't even have to be deployment. People are affected by ship movements, by, when moms call me, the anxiety in their voice is just so obvious. They're just not even sure if their partner is going to be there. Their family support system is usually many states away. In some cases, it's in other countries. Mm-hmm. So they're limited by the support they have from family. They don't know if their partner is going to be there. I have often, it's not unusual for me to talk to a mom and I'll say, I know she's alone. She's living alone because her partner's deployed. And even just saying, what's your plan? How are you going to get to the hospital? And she doesn't have one. The military lifestyle is a bit stressful. And so when you're living that way, your ability to handle things like get a childbirth class and just be prepared emotionally are lower on the list because there's bigger issues that they're facing that they have to deal with, they're forced to deal with. There's been never a doubt in anyone's mind that there's a need for support in this community, in the military community, not just in San Diego, but in every military community in the childbirth arena, there is a need for support. And it's not that the military staff, medical staff don't provide it. They do. They are wonderful. Here in San Diego, Balboa Hospital is a wonderful place to have a baby. It really is. But they're limited in what they can do. They can't stay in the room continuously. They can't provide that physical support that moms need in labor. And when you have a mom that's in labor without anyone being in there, it breaks their heart just as much. And so when we showed up on their doorstep and said, would you be interested in volunteer doulas, they just said yes. It was a great feeling because we don't always get the warm welcome as doulas in every hospital we walk into. But we have had nothing but just a warm and welcoming response from the staff there, and I'm forever grateful to them for that.
How can people connect with you now that we're going as a Military Birth Resource Network, and if we are having doulas that are going to San Diego, what is the best way for them to get involved?
We have one requirement for being a volunteer, first of all, and that's that you have to have been professionally trained by an organization such as DONA, or any of the recognizable leading groups. Most of our volunteers come to us through DONA training, but that's not the only one. As long as you're professionally trained, that's something that we can do. We don't train you, but then our program is the next step. So you get trained, join the program. We put each volunteer through an orientation, and then once you have been oriented and there we try to educate them on the Military Birth Resource Network, and the plan is to have all of our volunteers eventually be members of the network. Then once those two pieces are in place, you are now a Operation Doula volunteer. Military families need support. And I've said this before, you have support in the military community for just about every other aspect of life, but we're lacking this support feature for childbirth and the military family. And I think it's really important. When I was moving around, we had help with lots of things, but when it came time to having a baby, you were just on your own to figure it out. And it is an area of life that is specifically affected by the military lifestyle. And so because of that, it does require some support. And MBRN is amazing because it just said we're going to provide it ourselves. And I'm so impressed and proud to be a part of MBRN because of that. But I would love for the future, my future dream would be for somehow the Navy to incorporate or to embrace MBRN as the answer to fixing that hole that exists. Because it's definitely something that is not going to go away. It's always going to be a need. Military lifestyle is always going to impact families. And during the childbearing years, it's critical, I think, to have, it makes such a difference to have a positive birth experience. And I know that doulas are a part of the answer for that. You know, families, if they're not able to put their own support together, having access to a program like Operation Doula is a life changer for them. There's some really high need situations, and I'm talking about complicated situations are no brainer. Obviously, you need support, but even the basic standard experience, if you don't have support, can turn and be quite challenging and destructive if you don't have good support in place. Yes. You know, a mom having a baby on her own is a challenge, and it doesn't need to be a negative experience. If she has support, it can just be a very much an empowering, life-changing, wonderful experience. But that support needs to continue on into the postpartum time frame too. So I would love also, as a future goal and hope, is to see Operation Doula also branch out into a postpartum doula support program as well. We see a greater need there, really. You know, birth is exciting and it's transitional and it's really just this wonderful moment, but it's the postpartum period that really is where there's even a bigger need, I'd say. And so we're hoping to grow that way as well.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
I really believe that what you are doing and what we're providing can help with mission readiness across all the branches.
Definitely. Yeah. Readiness is, I mean, it is a key piece, because if somebody, a sailor or a deployed personnel is worried about the well-being of their family back home, about their newborn, about their spouse, they're just not able to be engaged and fully functioning as an employee of the U.S. Navy or any branch of the military.
Right. And we are starting to see some studies that are coming out that talk about being more at risk for postpartum depression.
Definitely.
You know, the family members, the service members. So is this the answer to get that in between, to fill those gaps in? So when you go to your next duty station where you're just, you know, you found out you're expecting at your current duty station, you are able to utilize some of the base programs that they have already in place.
Exactly.
But
yeah, we would love
the support for the in-between is what you're doing, what we're doing.
The military administrative system to have a key person in place at every family service center that just deals with childbearing families and issues. And really they need a staff person just handling those things, making sure that families know what resources are available. I can't tell you how many times I tell a family that TRICARE provides them lactation support for 6 visits at no cost, and they have no idea. That, you know, there's great resources out there, but a lot of families just don't know about them. And we just need to get better at somehow having a system that focuses just on the childbearing years. And that's why I think MBRN is so important. Its focus is specific, and the need is great, and it's, to me, a no-brainer.
As we just finish off this interview, what is one piece of advice that you would like to share to military families going through this season of life?
Well, you know, we, as a creature, a military family has a tendency to be made up of personalities that are quite independent. And we're quite capable of taking on big challenges, not because we want to, but because they're put in our lap. And you know, we rise to the occasion and we do our best because we have to, right? My advice to families would be to allow that, to reach out when you need help, to create a support system especially when life is extra challenging, like during childbirth, during pregnancy, during the postpartum period, is to reach out and look for help. Because of, I guess, our independent personalities and our thought process of I just got to do it. Sometimes you got to do it with help. And so my advice would be to realize that there is help out there, that there are programs like Operation Doula, and if there isn't one in your area, you can still reach out to Military Birth Resource Network. That if it's in your area, it's set up and made up of a group of people that are willing to figure out how to get support to you.
All right. Thank you, Maria, for sharing some of your insight and your experience with us. It was wonderful hearing your story. And anybody who wants to connect with Operation Doula, you could find them on our website at www.militarybirthresourcenetwork.org. One of our drop-down boxes brings you right to Operation Doula. You also have your own website up too, www.operationdoula.com. And you can also find your chapter out in San Diego right on Facebook, and I'll post that below. Also, if anybody would love to donate to Operation Doula and help some of our programs expand and grow, we will have that option as well for Operation Doula. So thank you, Maria, for joining us.
Well, thank you.